We understand an upside-down world, but they're writing us off before we get to the starting line. A stalled generation? Who do you think is gonna fix all this? We will, because our future is the future. So we're going to build bridges and hospitals in a day, and feed those left in the cold. We're going to do all this and more, because we have an appointment with destiny.
What's happening, sports fans? We welcome you back to another episode of San Diego Prep Insider. I'm Christian Pedersen, joined in studio on the left by Bodie DeSilva. Bodie's here from Scorebook Live, the official digital content provider of all things CIF, all things high school sports. If you're using the other company, you're doing it wrong. On the right is Dave Ring from DR Player Development, dialing it down a little bit. Almost had become a bit of a wrestling character last week, doing the show in full Tatis regalia.
Your opening game mode for Tatis's return, and then it fizzled away. Tatis did some work last night. You see him, I think, a couple singles against the Cubs.
But you're not here for
before
singles.
A dance party and right.
Yeah, I mean, getting heckled, that couldn't go any better for you. Some clutch hits in the end of the game after getting heckled.
A couple of clutch hits throughout the week in San Diego high school baseball, which we will probably talk about because I don't know any way to track this, and I know, Bodie, you are stats and research, but are there more walk-offs this year than in historic? Like, I know that there's no way that you have that ready to go or even look upable, but
I have tweeted about quite a few, so you might be right there.
It existentially feels, or maybe there's been bigger walk-offs, more walk-off home runs, more. We go over to the ever-present minefield that is our intern, as she gears up for another show of Sitting with Dave Ring, being ridiculous. But yeah, it seems like there's a lot of walk-offs this season in a really good way. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about some of the top 10 rankings. We're going to get to some early sort of peaks at some playoff situations, and Dave Ring might be filing a complaint with HR by the end of this episode as well. Bodie DeSilva, Dave Ring, let's talk to you guys real quick about your top 10 rankings from this week. Bodie, we like starting with you because you made yours at the beginning of the week, so it's always a little bit of a reflection. And Dave, you make yours today, so it's always a more relevant one. Bodie, let's start with you.
Yeah, not too much of a change up top. La Costa Canyon there at number 1. It's been several weeks now. Even for them, winning 2 out of 3 in what this league is. They've split their games so far this week. They're still up there for me right now. East Lake's there at number 2. They've been on a roll recently. They've only played Montgomery once in league. I think that's their toughest competitor there, but they're rolling. They got guys healthy. They got their transfers eligible, and it's Eastlake. They're always going to be dangerous. Torrey Pines there at number 3. We know how good their pitching is. Their hitting's come around, 3 home runs their last game, so maybe that makes them more dangerous there. Montgomery's there at number 4. Carlsbad at number 5 just picked up a big win over La Costa Canyon yesterday, so they've split that series. They'll finish it on Saturday at Petco Park. Rancho Bernardo there at number 6. Granite Hills at number 7. They moved up a couple spots from last week. It's Granite. We know how good they are, how talented that whole roster is. La Jolla Country Day jumping back in. I believe they're 9-0 now in the Coastal League.
They had a walk-off against Maranatha this week.
Yeah, walk-off, and I know their field dimensions are a little different, but still a ton of power coming from that team recently.
We'll put it on the poll at SD Prep Insider on Twitter, on Instagram. Does a walk-off home run count even if it's played at a Little League field? You can find all polls, like I said, Twitter, Instagram. Bodie, keep going.
St. Augustine there at number 9. I saw them drop a tough one to Westview last week, and then they were shut out earlier this week. They split their 2 games against Patrick Henry, so just a little inconsistent right now.
They beat the brakes off Patrick Henry that second game. So, yeah, to go from a shutout earlier to that, yes.
And then Poway's there at number 10 for me. It's been a little tough in league play, but I like this roster. I feel like if they were in a different league, their record would be a lot better. So they've taken their lumps, but ultimately I trust them, and they're still making a run and are in the position to still be in the open division. Teams right outside for me, Santana, Maranatha Christian, they would drop after this week, obviously. Scripps Ranch, San Pasqual, and Cathedral Catholic.
Ooh, Dave, you have been trumpeting Cathedral all year, being a sleeping giant and being somewhat underrated. Are they in your top 10 this week? Let's hear what you got.
They aren't, but they're still 12-7, which gives them a record that puts them in close to the top 10. I think they've just been kind of cold.
They're on that OLI.
Yeah, they've just been cold compared to some of these other teams. I got LCC at number 1. They're 16-3, pretty impressive. Eastlake 2, 17 wins. Torrey 3. Montgomery 4, I got them put Carlsbad 5. They won the series against Rancho Bernardo. Like you said, they're in a position to win this series at Petco Park here against LCC. So they're playing incredibly strong. I got Saints. Granite Hills is still in there for me. I'm going to put Santana in there this week at number 9, and I've got Poway at number 10. Like you said, they just keep winning, man. I think with new coaching staff this year, it took them a little while to get rolling. So, props to you guys for continuing to really battle through these games, through the rain, through new coaching staff, and get into the top 10. DR's top 10, baby.
Poway for you guys both on the top 10 now.
Yeah.
Seems like they are maybe the team that of that group that is not Eastlake and LCC, they are the one that is trending upward the most.
Yeah, I think so. And they still have some difficult league games. They're going to have a series against Rancho Bernardo next week, and then the final week of the season they will have one game against Carlsbad. That league always left one to the end there. But, Poway's good. They're going to play a night game tomorrow night, which I always enjoy that. They're one of the few North County schools with lights, so they'll have a chance to take a series from Torrey Pines. And I believe it'll be Ryan Crapel on the mound. He's been their final game of the series starter recently. So
we are looking at a couple of different playoff runs that I want to talk about. Before we get there, though, can we get game balls in? But we're going to come back to a lot of the Poways and Ryan Crapels of the world.
Yep.
Ryan might be in some of these game balls.
He works his way in when you look at those numbers on both sides.
It's hard not to. We're going to talk, though, about game balls right now, and then we're going to close out. Then let's do game balls, dingers, and then we'll close out with some of that division talk. Dave Ring, you look itching to go. We're going game balls or dingers first?
No, that's just the dog breathing and
deal.
moving my
The
arm
intern
up
is
and
just
down really fast. I'm not itching anything.
Okay. No, I meant like metaphorically, like you just kind of seemed like you kind of were like, but now I realize that this was a byproduct of the intern just breathing hard.
Yeah, let's do this, man. I got to shout out Jorge Ramirez over at Sweetwater. This guy's got 16 caught stealing in 14 games, man. This guy's an absolute stud. So think about that. You're throwing out a runner a game. Impressive. Carlsbad Lancers, got to give them a shout out. They defeated Rancho Bernardo 5-2 the other night. They took the series. Cameron Burdick 2 for 4 with a home run, 3 RBIs. Adrian Macias 1 for 3 with a double. And then the 2 pitchers that day, Mitchell Gibson got the win, 3 innings. Blake Gordon saved the game with 4 Ks. I mean, Carlsbad Lancers have really come together as a squad this year.
Where are we at saves wise in the county? Who do we have our saves leader?
Yeah, some teams I don't see enter them correctly when the guy would get one. They don't give him the credit for it. But I'll get on and see what we can get there. But yeah, I enjoy the guy who might be an outfielder but's got 1-2 innings of good stuff that they know with 2 pitches can come in and shut someone down. Casey Schmidt's a guy I remember from a few years back. Eastlake was super loaded. He's a great infielder, I believe in AAA for the Giants now, but he was always that guy end of game. You're like, oh no, we already had to play Eastlake's starter for 5-6 innings, and now Casey's coming in to close it.
I wouldn't mind putting it on the poll. He graduated 2017? 2018? I'm asking you with too many things, but we're going to put it on the poll. Do you think 5 or insert whatever number of years later it is, Casey Schmidt has forgiven the show for doubting Eastlake baseball? We'll put that.
Another
on
one
show.
is how many years do you think it'll take him to be in the big leagues? I say
17.
He's okay. So
I say 1.
So the poll question will be in the 7 years since in the 6 years since picking against Casey Schmidt. Do you think he's forgiven the show? Dave, I'm sorry we interrupted your game balls. Please keep going.
Yeah, for sure. I got one more. Nathan Wadelski. He's over at Mira Mesa. This guy plays short. He's a right-handed hitter. From what I can tell, he's hitting .451, 32 hits. 9 of those were doubles. Mira Mesa got a new field this year, and the ball doesn't really fly well to a lot of places at that field. So if he's hitting a lot of doubles, man, this guy's hitting them hard. He's probably hitting them a lot to right center. Got to give some credit to them with the big, thick infield that they started with on this brand new field with a lot of hits, man. Congrats to you guys. And that is the game balls for me.
Bodie De Silva.
First, we'll start. Casey Schmidt's hitting 330 in AAA, so we might not see him too far from now. He's in Sacramento River Cats, so former.
And that's Casey with a C. Yes, I need to spell the poll. All right, sweet.
Future San Francisco Giant, it looks like. Looking at game balls from this week as I scroll through, because we do some softball as well. So
shout the softball out as well.
I will start there.
We are elitist pricks in the sense that we like to talk about what we like to talk about, but we're not in the sense that we don't talk about stuff actively. We don't have enough time. But
we'll start with Abby Steffen from Eastlake Softball, drove in 5 runs and, as we were talking about, a walk-off 3-run home run in their win over Olympian last week. Layla Ludwig from Patrick Henry Softball, 3 for 3 RBIs in their shutout against El Camino. And I'm going to screw this name up, but Isla Desai from La Jolla Country Day, 1-hit shutout against Classical Academy, struck out 8. Moving over to some baseball now. Brett Lawton, also from La Jolla Country Day, complete game, 3-hit shutout, 11 strikeouts in their win over Classical Academy. Caden Perlman, one of the biggest stock risers in the county this year, 2-way guy, threw a no-hitter in their win over Poway last week.
Yeah, what's up with LCC Espinal? Like, hey, Stunner Gonzalez, all these other brand names.
They've got guys,
we've got
sure.
guys on guys.
Caden, in his last 4 starts, he has a 1-hitter, a no-hitter, and a 2-hitter. And that's going up against really tough competition. Jack Giordano from Patrick Henry drove in 6 runs in their sweep of Point Loma last week, a game-winning 3-run home run in the middle game there. Eli Griffin from San Pasqual. I got to see San Pasqual earlier this week. Unfortunately, it was their first league loss of the year, but a good team there that I expect to see in Division 2. He went 3 for 3, single-double home run in their win against Oceanside. Addison Klepsch from Del Norte, really good junior, 4 for 8, 2 doubles, 2 walks, 6 stolen bases, 6 runs in their sweep of Canyon Crest last week. And I'll finish up with Kyle Rogers from Mission Hills in their sweep of Sage Creek last week, 8 hits, including 3 doubles, a home run, and drove in 10
we
in a 3-game series. We have
not talked a ton about Mission Hills baseball this year.
A big comeback win yesterday. Yeah, that's a good team.
And it's because they're one of those ones that kind of sometimes gets lost in the wash in the competitive nature of all of it. Okay, so I want to talk about. Oh, we got dingers.
We do.
Let's go, Dave Dingers, please.
All right, man. I want to shout out Brett Lawton again, man. He had a walk-off home run against Maranatha. That was his 4th run of the year. So these guys are starting to rack some numbers in the home run department. Will Stickney, he hit a home run for number 3 of the year. He's hitting 388. He's a Stanford commit. Let's see. We've got Levi Ham in that same game for Maranatha, went yard twice.
It's out of here.
So he was their main offense for that game. So that was a game filled
Ham was really baking that game.
Lots of home runs.
Going ham.
Let's talk about the field maybe. And you got to shout out Chris DePrima at Del Norte, man. He had a walk-off bomb to dead central against Westview. This kid's a Yale commit. He also pitches. Bright future ahead for him.
What's his name?
Chris DePrima.
Chris DePrima.
And once again, we're going to shout out Carlsbad. They beat LCC 3-0 in that first game. Ian Fisher got 7 innings, 3 hits, 7 Ks. Aiden Munoz, 2 for 3 with a stolen base. And Mitchell Gibson with a 2-run yak. Man, this Carlsbad team is very impressive.
A correction on, and I tweeted that wrong there. Henry Gibson. They have 2 Gibsons, so that one's on me there.
Did I say Mitchell?
Yeah, because that's what I tweeted too.
Oh.
So it was Henry Gibson. Just want to make sure he gets his credit there.
But that's an okay. That's close. Henry, Mitchell, same thing, right?
When you got 2, it's going to be
Gibson.
Correct.
And he is from Mission Hills.
Carlsbad.
Our apologies.
Said this team has been
Henry Gibson from
very impressive. Lots of camaraderie. I mean, I wouldn't
put
be
that
surprised
on the poll. Our apologies to Henry Gibson from Carlsbad? Yes or no? At SD Prep Insider.
And Carlsbad is poised to win this series against LCC. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, I'll be interested to see.
Is that okay? So that's a perfect transition. We are done with dingers. Yes, Carlsbad LCC as a series is the perfect transition into my question of let's run through kind of 2 and then plus weeks until the playoff seedings come out and all that gets started. So by the time you watch, it's about 2 weeks. And we know that if we go through all the brackets right now, it's going to be stupid. And you're going to be like, well, that didn't end up panning out this exact way or whatnot. So let's just kind of shotgun through some of the different playoff, like general scenarios and overlooks, because Carlsbad LCC feels like that could be a preview of the Open Division Championship this year.
Yeah, just see how the brackets work out. But yeah, they're both in the mix for sure.
So what do you take away from that series? Is Open Division still LCC versus the field? Is this race becoming a little bit more conditional? Catch them in this round, get them on that side of the bracket. How are we feeling about this series' impact on Open and just Open Division in general right now?
Yeah, and there being 2 coastal leagues, so I got to say the North County Coastal League, La Costa, Rancho Bernardo, Torrey Pines, Carlsbad, Poway. I think 5 of those are going to make the Open Division. So I'll just be curious if those 5 beat up on each other too much in the weeks going ahead. Does it knock someone out? Maybe Poway gets knocked out. There's only 4 there. But those teams are going to have seen each other so much. If they match up in playoffs, they know a certain pitcher where maybe you'd rather see a Santana, an Eastlake, a guy who hasn't seen your pitcher yet this year. I don't think coaches will tank or do anything. It's with the power rankings. Good luck figuring that out to try and lose a game to get a certain seeding. But if those teams do match up, then they've already played each other 3 times in league. Maybe they played each other in Lions. There's just so many things that where maybe they've seen that pitcher so far. You don't want to let them see your starter for the 3rd time in a month or whatever it may be. But yeah, I would think, and there's Eastlake too, but it really looks like the winner's going to come out of that coastal to me.
Is Poway the shuttle team right now that has they're straddling Open and D1 that they will make the most impact on? If they are down, they become the favorites. If they are up, they could also be a sneaky team. Like, is there another team besides Poway that we're watching more in terms of that top of D1, bottom of Open?
To me, it's Granite Hills. They were
is Madison in that conversation at all, or is there no way for Madison to be? There's no open route there, so Madison's just dangerous in D1.
Yeah,
yes?
In all likelihood, Madison's in D1 right now. It would be Poway, Granite Hills, La Jolla Country Day. Probably one of those is in, and the next 2 are out. So for me, it's Granite Hills because I know how talented that roster is. They were in the Open Division final last year. They always seem to be in the mix.
Granite that you're watching the most
to see where they are.
Because if they are down in D1,
to me, they're by far
also
the favorite.
With Poway though, you like Granite over Poway in that scenario. Dave,
Definitely.
Your thoughts on those 3?
Yeah, I mean the only team we haven't talked about really a lot this year is San Marcos. They are solid, and
just in a brutal league, but that's good.
Yeah,
that's a good team.
That's the toughest thing for them is they've got a really tough league, and so for them to jump up a couple spots and to get to where Granite is, in my opinion, they're a better team than the Grossmonts and the Madisons of the world. Just at this point, I feel like San Marcos has got a shot. They win a couple games and they're locking in the 10 spot. Country Day, like you said, they are on a roll in a little bit lighter league, and they are stacked with college commits. So La Jolla Country Day might not lose, and that's the thing. The thing with me is that
and they play themselves into that Open Division.
Exactly.
And you deal with what every 8-seeded coach deals with in history of, is this really worth it? Is this where we wanted to be? Talk yourselves into it. Okay, so let's move then to Division 2. Bodie De Silva from Scorebook Live is our stats and information department. Before we get to the D2, did you get saves by any chance?
It doesn't look like it's collected that way.
Yeah, it's not in there.
Killer. Love it. Let's report that to the Scorebook Live stats and IT department to get that fixed on the app.
All coaches send me your saves directly to
yes,
my
please.
email.
Just coaches. Hi.
I don't care the ERA or anything.
We're gonna put Bodie's phone number on the bottom here and just text him whenever there's a save. Don't say who it's from. Don't say who got it. Just send him a text that says save. D2, Bodie, give us the top 5. I don't even need commentary. Don't need records. Just ranking wise. And then let's kind of see if we want someone in that 5 or pick the field.
Yeah, and keep in mind there could be head-to-head flips. I haven't gone through every schedule to know.
This is a very rough disclaimer of that's why I'm saying 5 instead of 3. Like, we're not locked into any.
Yeah, so as of right now, Montgomery's the number 1 seed. Not a surprise. They've only lost twice. That's a very good team. Cathedral's there at number 2, Christian 3, Scripps Ranch 4, and Mission Hills 5. To me, that's a really solid top 5. Cathedral's a team that that in past years has been Division 1, so it's been quite some time, maybe not even in the power rankings era. But that first 5 is really, really loaded.
So I'm assuming we're not going to pick outside of that first 5. Dave, your reaction to that 5, is there anyone right now that you
can't
like
leave
as
out
a favorite?
Coronado. The Coronado's got really good pitching. They are scrappy. They have lost a couple tough games this year to some teams they probably didn't want to lose to, but looking at where they have a good opportunity, win a couple series, and they're looking really good.
Bodie, your thoughts on who you like from that? I mean, Montgomery was in a championship game last year.
Yep.
Cathedral, like you said, is the D1 team that is down this year. Is there even a favorite? Maybe I'll ask you that out of D2 right now.
I would put Montgomery as the favorite. There's not a ton of hitting, but there's so much pitching. It's what we expect from Montgomery. They're always going to play these low-scoring games, seems like, when they need to come up big, and they just will. But, yeah, I'm looking at Mission Hills. That's a team I've seen this year. They're at number 5 right now. They beat Christian yesterday, who's at number 3 there, and they're only 0.6 of a point behind. So that's someone, if they could get ahead of Scripps Ranch, they would have that flip. But Mission Hills has got several key pieces there. I believe they were down 7-3 yesterday and maybe won 10-8. So offense when they need it. They've got a couple reliable starters. And, yeah, I would go Mission Hills, not to say a sleeper, but out of that first 5 without picking the obvious Montgomery. I like Mission Hills a lot.
Let's go D3. Bodie DeSilva from Scorebook Live, give us the top 5 teams in Division 3 currently as of right now today.
Yeah, Maranatha Christian there is at number 1, San Ysidro number 2, Mar Vista 3, Valhalla 4, and Fallbrook there at number 5. I should mention
that is a beautiful diversity of teams geographically.
And to bring one more in, Brawley's there at number 6. They're one decimal point there behind Fallbrook. But yeah, for me, it's Maranatha. It's such a talented roster. I know so far in league they've struggled. They lost 2 out of 3 to Santa Fe Christian last week. They dropped 1 to Parker. They've lost the first 2 to La Jolla Country Day this week. But those are all talented teams too. I think Maranatha is just the class.
So you're not worried if Maranatha runs into some open division talent later in the season and drops a couple games here and there? And
I'm not. Right now, their ranking is so high up, it would take a lot for them to drop from the number 1 seed. But even if they're the top 2, I still like their bracket. They're out getting to play home games.
What do you give Mar Vista in terms of credit being a defending champ? Like, do you do that in high school where you're like, hey, they know how to handle themselves in a playoff?
Yeah, not that it's like a pro team and you return 95% of your roster, but like we saw.
That's why I asked, how do you do that in high school?
Yeah, I think that's fair to look at Mar Vista and see, okay, there's guys that are contributing on this year's team that contributed last year that know what it takes. Like, they're not going to step in and, I got to get this hit. Like, just the moment I don't think is going to be too big when it comes to playoffs. I think they'll step up to the challenge.
Dave, for you in this division, are you Maranatha Christian versus the field right now, kind of with Bodie?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, there's some other strong teams in here, but like you said, I mean, I think the team to look out for is Brawley. They've got a lot of really strong hitters. They play really good baseball, consistent every year. And then, got to throw Oceanside in there. It might give them a chance to compete at some point.
Love that. Bodie DeSilva, let's move on to Division 4. Give us the top couple teams in D4.
As I pull that up. So Bishops is there at number 1, and it's almost a full point as the number 1 seed. Despite their 2-5 record, they're playing in a league that is going to get points playing Parkers and Maranathas and La Jolla Country Days. Holtville's there at number 2, Calexico at 3, El Capitan at 4, and Monte Vista there at number 5. And Monte Vista's pretty clear of number 6, Palo Verde, who Palo Verde, like we talked about that's a champion from last year at the Division 5 level. Much like they've done in football, they move up, and I hope they can keep it up forever.
This is Bishops doing the most Bishops thing of all time, is being situationally just fundamentally good and not necessarily going out of their way to schedule insane talent, and they're going to oppose because their league's going to naturally give them just enough.
Yeah,
to be
12-6 overall, 2-5 in league, which is, I guess,
but they play in a tough league.
Yeah,
but
so
so they go, hey, why tax ourselves if we have tough league? We're not going to play tough non-league and yada yada yada. And then like you get to the end of the season and they're, like you said, they're a whole head and shoulder above the rest of that division. So this is Bishops' to win or lose.
To me, it would be. Yeah, Palo Verde, I'm going to give them credit as well because they've been here.
There's no retroactive you fixing your relationship.
No, me and Palo Verde, we're all good now.
Deal.
They've got all their rings, so they get the last laugh there. But I think if they could move up, it's important in these in the non-open division brackets. I would want to be one of the teams that gets one of those first round buys. I think that's always something that I take a look at there. So that would mean being one of the top 4 seeds, because beyond that, 5 through 12 will all play that game as essentially a play-in game there. So I'm looking at Palo Verde there at number 6. But otherwise, I like Bishops. They've gotten it's not that they're just falling away in league and haven't won a league game. They've been competitive. They've seen what the La Jolla Country Days and Santa Fe's and Maranathas are all about.
And it's a big gap.
It's
we talked about that, both the coastal leagues being diverse and being talented and being strong. D5. Let's talk about that. Let's close this out. And remind everybody, as always, to check out DR Player Development for all your hitting needs. And SD Preps will have links for how you can download the SP Live Sports app. Bodie,
Coastal Academy there at number 1. Army Navy Academy at number 2. Lincoln, Liberty Charter, and Calvin Christian makes up your top 5. Guajome Park not too far behind Calvin Christian there. But otherwise, those first 4 are solidly ahead as we enter these last 5, 6, 7 games for teams. I look at a Lincoln. It's something I always do when you see Division 4, Division 5. I'm going to rely on that public school that might have a bigger roster, more guys come double elimination for pitching time, and just trust that when it comes down to it, they might be in this spot because they're getting with Bishops in a tougher league.
Let's look up the Lincoln baseball roster and let's see.
I'm not telling you they have 32 guys like it's some Trinity League roster.
No, I'm saying if there is one dude that is on the football team, I'm going to say that guy is physically more gifted than most of the Army, Navy, and Ocean View and
Liberty Charter.
This is not me saying that as a hater, but if Chris Fewell plays outfield, or if Ronnie Robinson last year shows up for 7 at-bats, the dude that's the Georgia football commit is just more naturally athletically gifted than anybody at some of those small D5 schools. I'm looking. I don't know how to cross-reference these rosters quick enough, so maybe we'll see if Bodie can do this while I filibuster and close out the show to see if there is one overlap. But yeah, Lincoln, and I like what you say, Bodie, about the positives are always there for the public schools in the lower division, and it tends to be somewhat along the lines of chalk in that. Dave, anything on D5 that you want to add before we get out of here?
No, I'm good.
Anything that we missed this week in terms of San Diego high school sports?
I forgot to mention the leader of dingers. We didn't do the leaderboard.
Champion.
The leader of dingers is 6. So and then Jack Hafferkamp is one of the guys.
Hafferkamp Jacks
holds that lead, man. He's got his 6
those numbers across the board right now, hitting about 520 and
31 hits on the year.
Oh,
yeah, Fanatics
nice.
free ad read this week.
Where's that?
You want me to talk over that?
I mean, I don't know how to get that back. I don't know what happened. Oh, there it is.
Hey, nice. Yeah, and then forgot to mention that San Diego beat San Pasqual 3-1. Tyler Howard hit a 2-run.
Yeah, that was an impressive one too. Went opposite field there. Yeah, I wanted to go see San Pasquale. They'd been on a run. I put some bad mojo on them. They dropped their first league game, but yeah, San Diego, they're used to playing those low scoring, kind of grinded out games. And
do not want
Richard Jefferson
talking about name, image, and likeness. In each episode, our contestants will race to secure
football
the biggest bag. But along the way, they'll pick up some of the lessons that will help sustain.
This is why you don't use the other company.
Can you hear the intern breathing in the mic?
Oh yeah.
Close this out with a little dog ASMR.
Yeah, and I'll just
breathe into the mic,
my last two here. A couple commitments. Max Bales from Cathedral Catholic, a pitcher committed to Santa Clara last night. So just kind of shows you unsigned seniors. There are still some options out there. Jet Kennedy from Carlsbad, sophomore, committed to Cal. So within a couple weeks, Carlsbad has another sophomore commit to the Pac-12. And there will be all-star games after the season. So baseball won June 18th at Petco Park, and softball as well. They're getting an all-star game this year. That'll be at UC San Diego. So
Dave,
we could just do a show every week about commits only.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh,
How many?
Yes.
So many.
Yeah.
Impressive. Congrats.
If only somebody worked at a website where they're good at lists and had a list of all those kids.
That is perfectly correct
vote.
at all times.
Go vote. Go vote. Yeah. Deal. Thanks everyone for sticking around. Thanks to Richard Jefferson for a guest appearance on today's show. Appreciate it.
That was not expected.
We'll put that as our last poll, and I'll try and tag
Former
him.
San Diego resident, so I get the tie in
Did
there.
you expect Richard Jefferson to make a quick appearance in the background of today's episode?
Tag him, too.
I am. I'm going to tag him too.